It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. Welcome to Mind Your Business. I'm so pleased to have you here, Sherrie Lynn Lilley, who is the owner of Pneuma Consulting.
Counseling and
consulting. Get
yes,
it right.
Important.
Get it right, because that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely.
Your expertise and your skill as a counselor, and what prompted you to start your own business. So before we get into that, though, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So I was born here in Bermuda. I went to school at Francis Patton Primary, and then I went off to work academy. And then somewhere in the middle of that, around age 14, I was diagnosed with a retinal disease. And the doctors told me that eventually I was going to go blind. And I did. So I'm totally blind. And accidentally landed in the United States.
Okay.
I was actually on my way to university in Canada, and that something interrupted that, and I ended up in the U.S., which ended up being a great blessing because there I was able to, as I gradually lost my sight, I was able to attain a lot of services that allowed me to learn how to be independent as a blind woman.
Okay.
And so actually got my education as an adult. So I went to college, my undergrad program at Pillar College, as a blind woman at 43. And I earned a bachelor's degree in psychology and counseling. I graduated at the top of my class.
Yes.
Simultaneously, I earned an associate's degree in biblical studies at the same time.
Okay.
And then I went on to Fordham University, where I earned my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling.
Now, you done did all of this
as an
adult. And
blind.
Most people can't get through, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's amazing.
You know what I appreciate about that, though, as well? Is that I was very devastated when I didn't get to go to college, on my way that it landed me in the U.S.
Right.
But I think the maturity going to college as an adult, it allowed me to focus better.
Yeah.
And I'm studying counseling, right?
Yeah.
So it allowed me to kind of merge my life experience with what I was learning from books.
Yes.
Which very much informs my counseling approach. So I think that when people experience me as a counselor, it sometimes can feel a little different than maybe sitting with someone that's younger.
Who's just out of college. They haven't really had that life experience.
They're a book learner.
Yes.
They're worried about the approach.
Yeah.
Am I Freud or am I CBT? And they're trying to check off all the boxes to make sure they do it right.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, the book learning very much just kind of supported a lot of my life experience and how I worked through my own life issues.
Yeah.
So I think that helps me to be an excellent counselor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about the fact that you have started Pneuma Counseling and Consulting. And I want to know, what made you decide to start your own business?
Okay. So several years ago, I actually came back home and ended up starting a charity here to advocate for people with disabilities in Bermuda.
Okay.
Because there's a great need there.
Yes, there is.
And as part of, I am very people oriented. And I felt like in order for the advocacy work, which a lot of times happens in the background, to feel relevant to Bermudians, and it felt very new, that I had to get out into the community. So one of my favorite things to do is workshops and presentations. So I created these workshops. I did workshops for caregivers. I did workshops on grief and loss and so on and so forth. And people would approach me and say, do you have a practice?
Yeah.
Do you have a practice? And I would say, no, I don't have a practice. It never occurred to me, especially because I have lived off island for quite some time. But people wouldn't let it go. And then I had people like literally calling me overseas wanting counseling services.
Okay.
And feeling safe to do it with me because even though I'm Bermudian, I didn't have all those Bermudian connections.
Yeah.
So that confidentiality and all of that. So
That is
that prompted me during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I started to research and say, okay, let me see how this works. Let me see how much paperwork I have to do and how I have to transfer all my credentials.
Yes.
And when I called, I found out that as of this moment, it's about to change, that there was no regulation around counseling in Bermuda. And I said, there's my loophole. Let me go for it.
Yeah.
And that's what made it me. So I'm like, okay, God, if you could make it easy,
Right,
like, that's
then
my
I'll
only
do it.
criteria.
Yeah.
And so not having to like transfer credentials and take exams, I was like, I'm doing it because, but even though I say that, really and truly, I am a skilled professional.
Of course.
And not only that, I think working with a lot of Bermudians of color, I realized that there's a lot of stigma for them. There's a lot of reasons why they do reach out, and a lot of reasons why they don't.
Yes.
And so I wanted to respond very specifically
Okay.
to what I was seeing, as a need with that particular population of people.
So in that regard, is that kind of your niche for your business?
Yes.
Is that your primary focus?
Yes, but let me say,
Okay.
all are welcome.
I know that's right. She said we are not
Everybody
limited.
can come up in my counseling practice. Yes, all are welcome. However, I do have a special heart and a special focus on customizing quality care for persons of color in Bermuda. Now, I was saying Bermudians of color until yesterday.
What happened?
Yesterday, I had a community launch, and this wonderful, beautiful Indian lady who is not Bermudian came to the table. This was my one aha moment yesterday.
Yeah.
And we started having a conversation, very soft-spoken, and I could tell right in that moment she had a need, an immediate need.
Right.
I ended up having to reach out to her last night, which I did. And she's considered a person of color.
Of course she is. Yeah.
But I'm thinking,
Black Bermudian,
Black
right.
Bermudians,
Yeah.
and I realized, wait, I need to expand this because this lady came to my table and there was something I could offer her. So now it's persons of color in Bermuda. I love my Bermudians.
Yes.
They come first. But any person of color, because we do have some unique set of circumstances that inform the way that we interact with the world.
For sure.
Yeah, that makes counseling for us kind of need some extra touches.
Yeah. I mean, as a Black person, and now I'm a Black Bermudian because I got my status, girl.
Woohoo!
Yeah. But there is stigma, right? In the community culturally around seeking counseling, getting support for mental issues, which we are not all equipped to handle. Like we were talking before we got started with this conversation about my own challenges. And I think historically it's like, oh, well, you're crazy if you go seek that support, when really the opposite is true. If you need assistance managing life and things in general, that's why you have people, skilled persons like yourself, to support in this way. Yeah. So going back to the services that you provide locally, now you still are based in the U.S., so is your clientele both in Bermuda and all over? Or how are you, what's your business model around capturing clients and things like that?
No, this is a Bermuda-based company. This is a Bermuda-based, this is for you guys. This is for Bermudians. So the wonderful thing with COVID is that even the practice I work in the United States, we went fully virtual. And initially we thought it was going to be temporary. It has become permanent, as is with many companies kind of around the globe when they realize that, wait, this can actually be done effectively with people working from home. So there's two aspects to it, really. So primarily reaching out, and I do have a Bermuda-based team. Intakes will be done here in Bermuda with my administrative assistant. And then she will schedule for individuals counseling sessions that will primarily be done either on a virtual platform or by phone. When I'm on island, any person, and I'm talking individuals first, that wants to come in for services can come in for services. But I find that for me, I didn't have too much of a problem transferring from in-person to virtual because of my blindness. Yeah. My coworkers had a hard time. So that's one way. And then the second thing is that I'm currently training 2 professionals that will provide some coaching services, which is a little bit different. Yeah. It's not in depth. It's more goal-oriented. So people that want in-person services that are less counseling focused can meet with my coaches. So that'll launch in, I want to say around February. I think they'll be finished their training. And then when I am on island again, And I'll come in for certain things because we haven't talked about the consulting part yet.
Yes.
So on the consulting end, I've done already work in Bermuda with the Department of Public Prosecutions. I've done some wellness workshops.
Okay.
And also creating specifically a faith-based mental health education program
Okay.
to really help churches to know how to respond to congregants in distress. Now, any consulting services, yeah.
Because you think about it, a lot of times in the absence, especially in the Black community, I would think, in the absence of going to a counselor,
that's where we go first.
They go to the pastor, or they go to the preacher, the imam, or whatever, and you do that, but they may or may not have the skill required to get people to where they need to be.
So that's my favorite part of the consulting arm that I'm building. I actually created, and this is one thing I think is important. I am really customizing services to meet the needs of Bermudians.
Okay.
Right? Because culturally there's, one thing, but Bermuda has some unique kind of aspects to it. Number one, because of its size, there's a lot of intersection. So like, for example, let's use you as an example, right, Jamillah? I may know you as Jamillah, my friend.
Right.
I may know you as Jamillah, my coworker.
Right.
I may know you as Jamillah, my, let's say, coach.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes you have 3 and 4 and 5 intersecting identities of a person that you know. And so boundaries are an issue in Bermuda. Confidentiality is an issue in Bermuda. And so I'm really looking at creating counseling services, whether it's individual, couples, family, or group, that really respond to some of the concerns, fears, and past negative experiences that Bermudians have had. And creating the faith-based part of it on the church side is also responding to that need. Growing up myself in church, I had a lot of church hurts. And I knew that I couldn't go to church for counseling services. That wasn't a thing.
Right.
So going in and sharing with pastors and priests and imams and wherever I can, how to do this in a way that doesn't further distress congregants.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of that before. So in my mind, I'm thinking that is a awesome way to get in. That's a great niche, right? And as far as I know, you're the only person that I know that provides that kind of service.
And it's going to be counseling education first.
Yeah.
And then counseling support second. So counseling education means that the pastors will be equipped with information. I'm going to go in and give them the language, give them the steps.
Okay.
And then counseling support is both for them and congregants if they feel like they need to refer.
So I think what's impressive to me is that you actually started this business during COVID, right? You're launching, you're recently making these community launches. Like you said, you met with a young lady yesterday. You're going to be doing more of that. So what is your ultimate goal? And you're also in our incubator program.
Yes.
So you signed up to Enterprise Bermuda. The first question, I guess, is what made you do that? What made you sign up?
Okay.
And then the second question is, what is it that you hope to achieve by being in the program?
Okay. So I heard, I believe it was Nikki Nikki on the radio, yes, talking about the program and what it did for me. I don't know, for those of you that are listening that are people of faith, you'll get this. And for others who are not, you'll still get it because we have all our, different worldviews. And a lot of times they are the same. So some people will say, well, the universe aligns. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Well, for me, a lot of things started happening that answered my questions as I was asking them. So first it was, should I do this? Then it was, okay, go for it. Then it was, I don't know anything about running a business. I need to know how to run a business.
Right.
And as I was having that thought, Nikki was on the radio the next day.
Wow.
And so she was talking about the incubator program. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. Let me apply. I probably won't get it because I am currently in the US.
Yeah.
But I went through the whole process. I interviewed, and I feel like it was such a good match, and that we would figure out how to do this. Coming back and forth. I was here for the whole summer. I want to give this kind of shout out to BEDC.
Okay.
I think that BEDC did not realize that what they were actually doing when they accepted me into the program was creating something in the disability world called an accommodation. Because whether I was in Bermuda or not, I'm blind.
Right.
Right? How does this work for a person that's blind?
Yep.
Do the platforms work for you that we're using? Can you come in person for classes or not? Let's create a hybrid model so that we can make sure classes get to you. Because if I were in Bermuda, chances are I wouldn't be able to come to classes anyway.
Right.
Because there isn't a paratransit system here
Right.
for me to travel around. Right? So I just want to shout that out to BEDC because I don't think they realized that that's what they did.
Yeah. And speaking for BDC, I think for us it's a lesson learned, right? Because we don't often get the opportunity to work with people who are not, as we see, working in the same way that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So it was definitely a challenge that we were willing to accept, and it allowed us to see where there were gaps in our system and to give us the opportunity to think about, well, how do we fill them?
Yeah.
Right? You're our first, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be our last.
Yes, and I said that to the director the other day. I'm probably the first, but I'm going to tell you that others are going to come behind because this is the new world that we're living in. And let me answer your second question. I think ultimately, to be honest with you, part of my decision in starting the business as well is that my children are getting older, and I've lived in New York City now for about 30 years. I've always come back and forth, and I'm lonely. I have no family there, not a soul.
Right.
And it's just me and my 5 kids. Well, now 2 of them are out of the house. I have a son that's married, and a little grandbaby coming on the way, and all of that, right? My youngest is 14, and I'm saying in 5 years, he's gone.
Yep.
Then what? So I said, you know what? Why not, Sherrie? Take your skill. People have asked for it. Create something that in about 5 years, you can fully be home.
Right.
So maybe that's the goal.
Okay.
I made a 5-year plan. How it's going to actually pan out, I don't know. But the goal is really to have something at home that when I'm ready to come home full time.
You have something to come home to.
Yes.
Yeah, you're laying that groundwork and that foundation.
And it's also my goal right now to be home more often. And I have already been achieving that. So January, I'll be here for 3 weeks.
Okay.
In April, I'm going to be running a workshop for the community.
Okay.
And then in June, I'm trying to think of my calendar for next year. I'm going to be running a 6-week parents class.
Okay.
It's not on parenting though. So it's a advertisement.
Okay.
It's actually going to be helping parents to understand how they were parented and how that impacts the way they parent.
Girl, I have to introduce you to one of our previous incubatees who... But she was focusing on young children.
Okay.
Same kind of premise where it's like your trauma or the things that you experience actually impact what you do and how you parent your children.
Absolutely.
Gwendolyn Creary is her name. Parent Guide is the name of her business.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I must connect.
Yes.
Yeah. And creating partnerships is really important to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even in the counseling portion of the business, I've already begun to create partners. So one of my fellow incubatees is already a partner. Actually sharing her product at my community launch.
Well done.
So creating partnerships is big to me. So I'm learning so much from the incubator program. And I feel like the action part of it comes very easy to me because I'm very passionate. I love to just get out and do. But the back end of it, I can't wait to get to like the finance classes because I suck at that. I will give it all away.
Yeah, no, we can't. Nope, we're not going to be doing that.
And in the helping profession.
Yes.
In the helping profession, it is easy to feel like, oh my God, should I be
they
charging
need this.
for giving
so,
people?
Yes. They need this, so I don't want to. If they can't afford it, I'm still going to give it.
Yes.
But you got to eat too.
I have to. And I am a skilled professional.
That's right.
This has become one of my mantras. Sherrie, you have earned. You went through to get these 3 degrees. You deserve to monetize your 3 degrees and at the same time serve the community. And it really depends on how people prioritize their wellness.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, we were talking about that and my lack of prioritization on my own wellness. So, you're definitely absolutely right. And of course, at BDC, we're like, you're starting a business. It's not a charity, right? You started a charity before, but this time around, this is a business, right? So even though, yes, you're in the help health and wellness and support services, you still have to earn a living so you can continue to provide the good service and excellent services that you're providing to those who need it. So.
Not to mention that Bermuda is so expensive.
Okay.
And when I come, I got to be able to live, man.
That is
But
so
yes,
true.
yes.
I went to the grocery store the other day and I was just looking like, where have I been? I was gone for a month on vacation, came back, and I'm like, wait a minute, have these prices doubled? Tripled? So having said that, yes, you must charge.
Yes.
What you need to charge.
Yes.
But no, I think having you here, having you as part of the program, like I said, has been definitely an eye-opening experience for BDC, for me, myself as an organization. But watching you kind of navigate through this whole process, and I'm like, so what that you're blind, right? Mm-hmm. What you are bringing to the table is still something that people need, and how you're doing it, I think we haven't really had a full discussion on that. So learning some of the kind of niche avenues that you're taking, I think is brilliant, especially here in Bermuda, like you said, where confidentiality is such a huge thing. And I would think the fact that you are blind can kind of help, right? Because people are like, you can't see what my facial expressions are saying. I'm saying one thing, but my face is saying a whole different story.
I'm very good. You talk to any of my current or past clients, and they would tell you nothing
She
gets
knows.
by me. I do. And I really do attribute that not only to my learning, but because I'm called to counseling.
Okay.
Whatever that means to the individual, right? Like, what is my calling?
Right.
It's a very abstract idea, but I know that I am standing dead center in the middle of what I am supposed to be doing. Yes. So I'm very good at it.
Okay.
And so as a blind person, it's called being attuned.
Yes.
So I can tell you almost your mood when you walk in a room.
See that? That's some superpower.
It's a lot of paying attention. I can't be distracted. I have to be well rested.
Right.
Because all of that interferes with how I have to compensate for not being able to look and see.
Yeah.
Most everything about my training was observation.
Yeah.
Every professor, every class, and this is how you observe, and this is what you need to look for. And I would always raise my hand and go,
but I can't see what you
know what?
Yeah.
I knew they didn't have an answer, but I always wanted to challenge them to think beyond, what the book says.
Yes.
And very often they would go, well, you do it very well, and that was enough.
Can we have a further discussion about this?
Yes.
No, I mean, I think that's is very impressive. And they say, like, if one sense is gone, the other ones are heightened, so that you have the ability to kind of sense that. They say everybody has an energy and an aura, and people can feel that.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that you have to use that tool, right?
It's a tool that I have to use, and I don't think it's so much that the other senses so much get heightened per se. Is that because you have to depend on them more, you just pay more attention to them.
Got you.
And I can challenge any person to just put a blindfold on for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your hearing gets better.
It's true.
It's not that it gets better, It's that you're forced to use your hearing more.
Right.
So we just take for granted the things that we use on a daily basis, the senses that we use regularly.
Yeah.
And when they're gone, it makes it seem like the other senses are just more acute.
Yeah.
But it's just really that you have to just pay more attention to other ways.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I think that what you're doing is phenomenal. I do want to know, your business is just starting, so it's a baby business.
It's a baby business. It's a baby business. However, I am fully up and running with tax papers done and banking and everything. I'm paying my taxes, y'all.
Yeah. It's legit.
It's legit.
So if someone is seeking support and they want to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Okay, so the best way right now is I do have my website is up. Woo-hoo! And that's info at Pneuma Bermuda. Let me spell Pneuma.
Yes.
P as in Peter, N as in Nancy, E as in Edward, U as in umbrella, M as in Mary, A as in Apple. Pneuma. So it's all one word, pneumabermuda.com. And the phone number just left my mind. Hold on. Okay. Oh, wait.
I have your bag.
Have my bag.
Yeah, we'll put it at the bottom.
Okay, we'll put it at the bottom because it's a new phone number.
Yeah.
So I do have an admin here in Bermuda that will answer the phone.
Okay.
And if you don't get her, you can leave a message or text. text some information. So those are the two primary ways. And if you have WhatsApp and you want to reach, listen, the world, man.
Listen.
If you want to reach Sherrie Lilley directly and not get my admin, then and you have WhatsApp, then you can call me on my overseas number, which is 718-581-8759.
Okay.
And you can get me through WhatsApp on my overseas number if you don't want to call long distance and you want to speak directly with me. I'm very, very open to that because I'm all about building this business.
Yeah.
And like I said in the beginning, I am very people oriented. I believe in really talking with people. I don't want you to get too much voicemail and and all of that stuff. So
yeah, because I would say taking that first leap and saying, okay, yeah, I want this, I need this, can be hard for some people.
Yes.
So like you said, if they can reach you directly, that might be what they need to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue, versus if they get a voicemail or something, they'd be like, oh, no, now's not the time, Because it can be scary.
And every client gets a free 20-minute consult.
Okay, now.
Every client gets a free 20-minute consult. So if you call, that's the first one. Are you looking to have a consultation? Right? If you're calling for something else, connecting in business or what, that's fine too. But if you want your free 20-minute consult and you give me a call, then you'll get your free 20-minute consult.
Now, do you specialize in anything specific, or are all topics open?
Generally, mental health counseling.
Okay.
I can do any type of mental health counseling, whatever enters the room, as long as a person is stable. So, for example, if you do have a diagnosis, if you are on meds or anything like that, and you're pretty much stable in your life, then you can come into my counseling practice. However, I do have special areas in trauma, domestic violence, grief and loss, and of course, parenting, disability, those kinds of things. Those are my areas that I really enjoy. And then also faith-based counseling. So I want to clarify really quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm a mental health counselor. Across the board, generally. I'm a clinical mental health professional. Because I am a Christian, I'm not a Christian counselor unless you need me to be a Christian counselor.
Okay.
Because not everybody is a Christian.
That's very true. Yeah.
So I know how to have you experience what I consider God's love without ever saying God. Right? Because as a person, it shapes who I am. It shapes my kindness, my thoughtfulness, my care, my compassion, right? But if you are a Christian person and you would like a faith-based counselor, I'm qualified to be a faith-based counselor.
Got you. Okay. But that wouldn't preclude anyone else who may not be Christian from coming and seeking support.
I am a skilled professional.
That's right. She's skilled, okay? You know, now you know.
Professional.
I love it. I love it.
I you know what I did? I went to Christian college for undergrad.
Okay.
Because for me that was important. I grew up without that connection between faith and counseling. So I needed that. And it was excellent. But then I went to Fordham University to a secular setting for my master's degree because I also felt it was really important to hear what the majority of the world was hearing. Right. So I have both skill sets.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. See?
Excellent.
Let the people know what those skills and qualifications are.
Yes.
No, we're really excited to have you in the program. We're hopeful that you're going to get out of it everything that you want. Yes. We're going to be working with you. We got to figure this out together, how to make sure that you get what you need and get access to the information that you need. But outside of that, I want to say for those who may be considering entrepreneurship, have thought about it, and like you may not have any business background, but have a passion for something, what would you say to them to encourage them to maybe take the leap or to try it out?
Yeah. It starts with your skill set. Yeah. If you have an idea or you have a particular skill set that you feel like you can really monetize, then just go for it. Take that first step, write it down. Always write it down, right? Write it down and don't worry about organizing it in the beginning. Just dump the idea down. Okay. But my advice is really go for it because I'm finding that I love counseling. I love doing the consulting part as well, which is more like webinars and seminars and workshops, right? I love it so much that the business end to me now is just added, is extra. Okay. It's helping me to shore up so that I can be successful at what I do. And it feels a little strange, like, I had to learn some vocabulary.
Yeah.
Was it, I don't know who I was talking, it was Nikki. I was in a session with Nikki, and Nikki said, well, have you started working on your SOP? I said,
What's that, Nikki?
So that would be I don't know what that means. And so we talked through what that meant.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and she took me through the steps, and I said, it's something. And here's the other thing I realized. There were things that I was just doing organically because it made sense.
Right.
And guess what? There are aspects of creating a business.
Yes, they
on the business
are.
end.
That's exactly right.
So when she started explaining, I was like, oh, I do that all the time.
I do that. Yeah.
And now it made sense. So I would just say go for it. I would say do it. Go for it. If you're a dedicated person, if you're a committed person, then you can do it. Go for it. And get into the incubator program.
Thank you for that.
And if you can't come to the incubator program, BEDC has lots and lots of classes that you can just take as you need them as you build your business. But don't let anybody stop you. Don't stop yourself, because we're our biggest blocks, right? Yeah. We are the first ones to talk ourselves down.
That's so true.
Yep.
That's so
I
true.
did this launch yesterday, and I went home and I said, Sherrie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And the negative self-talk started, and I had to counteract it and say, listen, girl, you got this.
Yeah.
Right?
You do.
You do.
And I mean, I think it's helpful to know that even you, as a skilled professional, have these moments of doubt. Yes. Like, you don't have it all figured out either. It's a constant kind of progressive kind of self-talk.
Yes.
And, you know what I mean? So I think that's comforting to know, because, you think, what do they say about mental health professionals? It's like, yeah, I can tell everybody else what to do, but sometimes
do I listen to my own advice?
Listen. So no, I really appreciate this conversation, having this conversation with you, learning a little bit more about what it is that you do. I'm definitely excited about what the future holds for your business, and I would encourage anyone who's listening to definitely reach out to you to get the support, because it sounds like you said, you are a trained professional and you have these specialized skills that can support and help Bermudians specifically.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank
you for coming on Mind Your Business. And I always end by saying, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Wonderful.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.